Good morning. Welcome to another Sunday morning share. Today's share, that's better. Today's share, we hope to talk about topic relevant this coming week. The idea of a fast day on Erev Shabbos, a Friday fast, and to really understand in what ways is this Friday going to be different than the average Friday, other than the fact that we can't eat. Or could we? Firstly, I think it's important to give a share on this topic because in general, there's only one fast day of the Jewish calendar that could come out on Friday. The only fast day that could come out on Friday is Asar B'Teves. And this fast, it's not quite often that the fast day falls out on a Friday. The last time it happened was 10 years ago. It's a phenomenon that happens, maybe 4 times in a quarter of a century. It's not that common. Off the top of my head, I remember the last time it happened, about 10 years ago. But I don't remember so many times it happening. It's quite uncommon. And therefore it's kedai, it's worthwhile to go over the halakhas of this Friday fast. It definitely is quite strange for a person to be breaking their fast on Kiddush. Can you imagine? After fasting a whole day, for someone to the first thing that if they wait till the end of Kiddush, first thing they're going to get is some wine, some grape juice. That's what they're breaking their fast on, not the usual post-fast norm. The only thing that comes close is sometimes you're in Shul Shabbos morning, and there's a chazan that keeps it going and going and going and going. So there is another scenario where you have to break your fast on Kiddush. But short of a long davening, long chazan, when else are you, quote unquote, breaking a fast on wine? Yeah, Motzi Yom Kippur, most people don't drink wine. Motzi Yom Kippur, that's it. So, I'd like to talk about the fast day. I'm going to get to one of the questions that people ask. It's a great chab. Is one allowed to make an early Shabbos this week? People are getting excited about this. Well, let's make an early Shabbos. This way we'll end the fast a little bit earlier. We're allowed to do that.
Your fast ends earlier anyways.
Yeah, it happens to be we are lucky. Of all the fast days, Asar B'Teves is the earliest fast. But, everything is relative. In New York, I didn't look at the exact zmanim, but Shabbos could be, a little bit after 4. So the fast will end, not so bad. Here in Florida, Shabbos last week, Lech Benchen was 5:15. It's a good 45 minutes to an hour difference between here and New York, which means still a longer fast. And Shkia is about 5:35 over here. So every minute does count. So is one allowed to make an early Shabbos? We'll talk about that at least by the end of the share. Are you allowed to change your menu for Friday night? Some people don't like eating heavy things after a fast. Depends when people have their preferences, what they like to eat after a fast, before a fast, after a fast. So how's that work? Definitely before the fast. People should have extra cholent Thursday night. For sure. This way, it'll be loaded coming into the fast Friday morning.
Heartburn or whatever.
Yeah. But, okay. But really, I thought this would be a great opportunity to go through many halakhas that go on every Friday. There are many halakhas about Friday afternoon, Friday in general, which are important halakhas. Some are known, some are not so well known. And when we're contrasting what's different this Friday versus the average Friday, we have to have clear what is the checklist of things to do on a Friday. Now, we all know, no matter when, guys are bringing up, like in the winter, Friday is a short day. Friday is always a short day because there's so much preparation always to do before Shabbos, and things get hectic. And even if you think you have time, you sometimes, overestimate how much time you have, and you can get into all different issues on Fridays. So I would like to go through a whole checklist. I have about 7 things for prep for the 7th day. 7 areas in general of halacha that a person should know of obligations, mitzvos, things to do on Friday in preparation for Shabbos, and how that might be the same or different this week because of the fact it's a fast day. So, if we'll begin our checklist, first thing is the halakhas are in a few different spots. If you look on your sheets, Siman Reish Nun, Halakhas Shabbos, Halakhas HaSudos LaShabbos, the preparation for the Sudos. Look what the Shulchan Aruch writes, based on the Gemara. The halacha is Yashkim B'boker, B'yom HaShishi. You should get up early Friday morning, Lahachin Tzorchei Shabbos, to prepare that which you need for Shabbos. V'afilo Yesh Lo Kama Avodim L'Shamsho. You have a whole fleet. You have maids, butlers, cleaning people in your home to help out. Nevertheless, Yishtadol Lahachim Ba'atzmo. You should try to prepare yourself. Shum Dover, something, L'Tzorchei Shabbos, for the needs of Shabbos. K'dei L'chavdo, in order that you're honoring Shabbos. Right away, you see the purpose of you doing things on Erev Shabbos may not even be so practical. Baruch Hashem, you're able to afford. You have cleaning help. You have help in the kitchen. You have a whole team of people helping you out. So practically, I can just rely on them to prepare for. They prepare for the big meals. Why can they prepare for Shabbos? There's a din of kavod Shabbos that you yourself should take involvement in these preparations for Shabbos. And the Gemara brings proofs that the Shulchan Aruch relies on. Ki Rav Chizda ha'imachtig hayerek dak dak. Rav Chizda would chop up the salad very thin. He would dice it. Rav Yosef ha'mavkin eitzim. He would cut up. He would get wood to heat the house. And Zera hayamalik ha'esh. Zera would prepare the fire. So there always is something the Gemara gives. All these Amoraim did things to prepare for Shabbos. Why does the Gemara feel the need in the Shulchan Aruch to bring that down, to give us live examples of Rabbanim? Because it's trying to get a message across. Right? The best type of advertising, anyone knows, is the vaccine. What they do in countries all across the world. They're having big people in the country be the first ones to get the vaccine. Not just because they themselves are dying to get the vaccine, but the other way, they're trying to encourage people to take it. So the best encouragement for people to take it is you see the Prime Minister, the Vice President, all these dignitaries taking the vaccine. So that's a role model. That's how you advertise something. So seemingly, that's the reason behind what the Shulchan Aruch, what the Gemara does in pushing us to prepare for Shabbos. The Gemara rolls out all the big guns. Look what they did for Kavod Shabbos. And the Chavetz Chaim even explains in the Shari Tzion. There's an interesting discussion. What people, sometimes get from. People will say, look, I'm a busy person, Baruch Hashem, I'm sitting and learning Torah. Why should I take off time from my learning Torah to prepare for Shabbos? Let my sisters do that. I'm the yeshiva bocher, right? I'm sitting and learning. I'm glad when the guy here is already shaking his head. No. Good. You were trained well. But someone might say, my daughter would be very happy that I'm speaking this out. Right? Someone might say, hey, maybe the boys don't have to help out, it's just the girls. The boys should be busy learning. Firstly, who said they're busy learning Friday afternoon? But okay. So, the Chavetz Chaim writes in the Sha'ar Tzion, he writes, V'nira de lo shayich pizeh lomar mitzvah sheyochel lasos ad yechirin im mevat l'na talmud afil zman muat. Normally we would say if someone else could perform a mitzvah, we don't dafka go into the base matters to get people. Happens all the time. Right, let's say they need a minyan for Chas Hashem Levaya. Where am I going to find 10 people for a minyan? Quick! Let's stop by the yeshiva. Grab some kids. They're sitting there anyway. Chas v'shalom. The halacha is, if it's an effort to get other people, you should not be mevatel people from learning Torah. In a certain sense, the last people you should get, if you just happen to need bodies, if you happen to need people, to make a minyan for something, to do something, the last people you should go to are people who are sitting and learning. Because we're not mevatel Torah where it's possible for others to do it. Now, of course, there are situations you can't find other people, and then the right thing would be yeshiva makom have to be osik and chesed too. But assuming there are others to do it, so why should I be the one to prepare for Kavod Shabbos? So he writes, Yesh lomar davka mitzvah shemutelos al gufo. That would apply to mitzvahs which are not incumbent upon your body to do. So there, we say, don't be mafsik in your learning. Mashe ein kain, b'zeh kavod Shabbos mutelos al gufo. The milah mitzvah yosem mishloah. Firstly, the Chavetz Chaim says, you know why you should be the one doing it? Because the chiyuv of kavod Shabbos is a chiyuv which rests on you yourself. It's a chiyuv haguf. So a chiyuv haguf, a responsibility you personally have to do, you can't just push it off and say, look, I'm learning, let's find someone else. No such thing. That's one answer the Chavetz Chaim gives. Inami, he says even a bigger chiddush. The davkil in kavod Shabbos or in king, the chamiri, mashe enkin b'shar mitzvos. There's a special inyan when it comes to kavod Shabbos. There's a special inyan by kavod Shabbos that comes first. Kavod Shabbos in some ways is a greater mitzvah than other mitzvahs. That there's a personal obligation. That's the first answer of the Chavetz Chaim. Or secondly, the Chavetz Chaim says preparing for Shabbos is such an important mitzvah that it's mevatel Talmud Torah. Normally we say you have someone else to do it, and not mevatel Talmud Torah. Look how special, look how important the mitzvah to prepare for Shabbos is, that will say that you yourself have to do it, even if you get other people to do it. We never normally say this by Talmud Torah, because the mitzvah of preparing for Shabbos is so great. And there are multiple stories that came out, from David Feinstein's that's out. It was famous that David Feinstein, we'll see in a moment when, would go shopping for Shabbos, would be Makayim this halacha himself. He had many Masharsim, a lot of people would be willing to help out the great Rosh Hashiva, the Gadol Hadar, to go shopping for him. No. He dafka did it himself. Not only that, I saw brought down, he would prepare for Shabbos the salad. Mamash the first, like Rav Chizda, he would cut up the vegetables, dak. David Feinstein, his thing he did prepare for Shabbos was he made the salad. Amazing. He dressed the salad, he put it together. I heard someone tell a story on Purim, he'd be involved with the meat, he'd be cutting up all the meat. There's an inyan for Kavod Shabbos to do things. David Feinstein is a perfect example of a chash of a person being mevatel time from his Torah learning, which he was dealing with life and death shilohs every day, but took off time to prepare for Shabbos. So it's incumbent upon all of us. What can we do to prepare for Shabbos? It's even the shikol kasha, something's in yeshiva. Like everything's taken care of. Like, what do you need me for? Okay, you're at home, so your mother tells you, I need some help with something. Or maybe before she tells you that. But the truth is, really in yeshiva too, whatever a person could do to help prepare for Shabbos, we'll see, go through the checklist of all the different things. There's a chiyuv to be mevatel Torah, even where there are other people able to do it. Very, very important halacha, probably not so clearly well known. Now, in terms of shopping, when should you go shopping for Shabbos? And this is going to have ramifications for this Friday. When do you go shopping for Shabbos? So, the Chafetz Chaim writes in the Mishnah Berurah, Sivkot Beis, right? The Mechaber said, "Yashkim b'boker b'yom hashishi." You should get up early on Friday morning. The Chafetz Chaim writes, it's better to go shopping on Friday than to go shopping on Thursday. Why? Because it's more minker, it's more recognizable that what you're doing is for Shabbos. So, even though practically I could get the items Thursday or Friday, maybe even Wednesday, the Chafetz Chaim says, ideally, it's better to go shopping on Friday, because it's more clear you're doing it for Shabbos. Im lo, the Chafetz Chaim writes, b'davar shetzarach hachana rabba, certain things need a lot of preparation, for example, meat, so then you should buy on Thursday. Achim abasar shemotzi b'yom hei ukalchosh, if it's weaker, it'll be more juicy, more geschmack if you buy it fresh on Friday. And ideally, you should buy it fresh on Friday. So, again, the basic, when's the best time to go shopping for Shabbos? Friday. Friday. Yom Hey is Thursday. Yom Shishi, Mechaber is talking about, is Friday. Umistavra, the Chafetz Chaim does give an important clause. Umistavra, to be Yom Maksarim, on short Fridays, whatever you could do to do it a little bit earlier, to do it on Thursday is better. If it's going to be very hard for you to do all your Shabbos shopping on Friday and to cook it and everything, also taking into account all the other things on your checklist, you're going to have to do Friday afternoon, Friday. So where it's more convenient, where it's easier, where it's hard to pull it off on Friday, one could go shopping on Thursday. Obviously, again, the closer to Shabbos, the better. But the idea is, because it should be more recognizable, what you're doing is you're shopping for Shabbos. You know, the many big mishpachas, you go shopping on Wednesday, that will last you till Thursday afternoon if you're best. Right? So you don't see a person necessarily shopping on Wednesday. Is that clear that he's shopping for Shabbos?
You go Thursday night.
Okay, yeah, Thursday night. Now, you can also take into account, Baruch Hashem, in the firm neighborhood, sometimes these supermarkets are crazy, crazy busy. All the time to sit online, all this. Now, okay, you can call in your order, online, who knows. But, okay, again, ideally the best time is Friday. You can't pull off Friday, you can do it on Thursday. Now, that's big relevance to this week. Many people will probably find it quite hard, when they fast to run around, do shopping. And they may not have the strength, the emotional energy on a Friday to do the normal shopping for Shabbos. So thus, one could definitely use this clause the Chafetz Chaim is throwing in there on the bottom, that where there's a need to do it, one would be allowed to shop for Shabbos on Thursday before Friday, if that's better. I believe the stories of Reb David Feinstein too. Reb David himself, the shopping you do a lot of times is on Thursday. It was not necessarily on Friday. Again, wherever it's convenient for a person to do it, that's better. So the first step you got to do is shopping for Shabbos. preparing the food for Shabbos. Number 2, cleaning and fixing your house. Where is that? So the Chavetz Chaim talks about it in the Mishnah Berurah on Sivkot and Gimel. Talks about cleaning out, your house from extra stuff there. The Kol Shekain, he writes towards the bottom, you have to literally sweep the floors on Friday day. That's part of Kavod Shabbos. The Yidma B'daito, the Chavetz Chaim gives you, nobody likes the Here Comes Friday blues when you have to go and clean your house on an Erev Shabbos. No one likes cleaning up. Well, so the Chavetz Chaim gives you chizuk. The Yidma B'daito, Ki'ilu Yavo Ilov Es Achsen Melch Bas of Adam. If you had a king coming to your house, Kalam Mechabed Abayis, how much would you clean the house, Matzia Mitos, and get all the beds made? The Kol Shekain Shabbos Malchusa. Kol Shekain Shabbos Amalka is coming to your house. You should get your house clean. Now, this too, person should clean for Shabbos, get the house in order. Anything that needs fixing up should be done. I know many people, I guess myself included, there are chores, certain things to do around the house. It could be Friday afternoon. You have more time than others, or sometimes, change the light bulbs on Friday afternoon, whatever you need to be fixed. Obviously, something that's a bigger job, you can't leave till Friday afternoon. There'd be enough time to do that. But definitely smaller odds and end jobs around the house, and obviously cleaning one's house, one should do on Friday. It's not so easy to really clean your house before Friday, especially if you have young kids in your house. You clean your house on Thursday, that may not count. It helps, but unfortunately, it gets undone quite many times quickly. So people should try to clean, as much as they can, Erev Shabbos. I remember, fascinating phenomenon. This is also being in Eretz Yisrael, staying. Yeshiva had a place near Meir Sha'arim, Geula. Obviously, that's an area where the most trafficked upon parts of Yerushalayim, and unfortunately, those areas are not known for their cleanliness. It's not like you're walking around in Toronto. Toronto, I think, is a city that's famous. The streets are clean. They take pride in it. Unfortunately, in many other cities, you find garbage all around. And, Light. Unfortunately, in the Eretz Yisrael, really the Gemara in Ksuba says, you find, dirt on the Rayim that would clean the streets of Yerushalayim. It is bizarre many times you look at the streets. But to me, one of the most fascinating things, there's always a bustle, there's always people, the streets are always busy. When do they have time to clean it? An hour before Shabbos, everyone is basically in their homes in Yerushalayim getting ready for Shabbos. And all the stores are shut. Right? You can no longer get a falafel. Everything is shut. Everyone's getting ready for Shabbos. Then they have major cleaning crews go through the streets of Meir Sha'arim Geula from neighborhoods. They clean it up. The mamish looks beautiful for Shabbos. I remember coming out of my apartment there, walking the streets of Meir Sha'arim Geula, the clean streets. A few hours later, there'll be Shabbos treats all over. And, okay? But the idea is when Shabbos HaMalka comes in, it should be perfect. That's the idea. Area number 3 on the checklist. Trimmings, haircuts, shaving, doing that. That comes up. Really, you can put that together with Siman Reish Samach. If you look, The Mechaber talks about Dinei Achnasa Shabbos, things a person should do for the coming in of Shabbos. Mitzvah lirchotz. It's a mitzvah to wash up. Hagah, the Ramah adds, kol gufo, your entire body. V'yim evshelo, yirchotz panav yadav v'raglo, b'chamin b'erev Shabbos. At least you should wash your face, hands and feet in hot water in Erev Shabbos. Yeah, the Mechaber does say hot water. Sometimes in your home, depending how many people are taking the shower, it's going to be so easy to get chamim. Okay? He says even further, it's also a mitzvah lachaf rosh, to shampoo, to clean one's head. So, obviously, a person should wash the clean for Shabbos. Here too, I saw brought down, the closer to Shabbos a person does this, the better. Now, that does not mean, the famous, you have so many cases of people running into the shower, 2 minutes before luch benching. That's not ideal. Really that potentially could get into problems. A person drying themselves off, ready to pass the zman. Those are extremely involved. So I know the yeshiva that shuts off the hot water before Shabbos. Okay, Adkan. At this point, the yeshiva is shutting the hot water. You have to, take your showers before Shabbos, but at the same time, too early is also not necessarily nicker Hashem Shabbos. I did see some people bring that down. But there are stories of great masmidim in yeshivas. They would get up Friday morning, take a shower, get dressed up in their Shabbos clothes, and sit and learn all Friday morning, Friday afternoon straight. Okay, the stama. One person sees a person dressed in the Shabbos clothes sitting and learning all day. That's nicker. It's for Shabbos, and okay. But ideally, a Thursday night shower is not ideal. Best thing to do is we're able to prepare and have a shower before Shabbos, wash up before Shabbos. Right? In fact, we'll see in a second, the Mishnah Berurah points that out. Look at the Mishnah Berurah, Sefkat and Hay over there. He says, the Halakhas do not only apply to Erev Shabbos, every Erev Yontif person should wash up for Shabbos. Aval b'yom Hay, but to do it on Thursday, kira de Shabbos. It's not really for the honor of Shabbos. If you can't do it in Erev Shabbos, whatever you do closer to Shabbos is better. So too in terms of taking a haircut. Right? If you look in the Ramah writes here, your hair is long, mitzvah to get a haircut. So here too you see the best time to shave would be on Friday. The best time to take a haircut would be on Friday. However, with these things, a haircut, sometimes you have to go to the barber and it's a long line. Not everyone is so skilled they give themselves haircuts, right? So it could take some time at the barber. So, if a person can take a haircut on Friday, whatever is closer to Shabbos, Mishnah Berurah wrote, right, is better. Whatever is closer to Shabbos is better. A haircut, it may not be the best thing to take it on Friday. Maybe you should take a haircut on Thursday. But also the same type of idea, you should definitely do it later in the week. A Wednesday haircut, a Thursday haircut, Friday haircut. But not to do it early in the week. This way, whoever's closer to Shabbos is better. There also happens to be a halacha brought down. If a person would take, again, sometimes our extenuating circumstances different, the guy has a chasana. But again, the best time to take a haircut is closer to Shabbos. But there's brought down, halacha, let's say a person takes a haircut like on Sunday. So that itself is another darga, another level. It's a bizayin to Shabbos. Like right after Shabbos, you can take a haircut. Right after Shabbos, you look better than you did on Shabbos. It's not nice. I'm going to shave Motzi Shabbos. What? You shave before Shabbos. If you wait to Motzi Shabbos, you wait to Sunday, that's a bizayin. That's embarrassing for Shabbos. So whatever a person can do close to Shabbos, that is a mitzvah of Kavod Shabbos. So far we touched upon shopping for Shabbos, cleaning and fixing one's home, washing up, shaving, haircuts. Now I must point out, once I'm halfway through my list of things to do in Erev Shabbos, you already get the idea that really all these things ideally should be done on Erev Shabbos. You should shop and prepare the food for Shabbos. You should clean your home for Shabbos. Your personal hygiene, washing up, shaving, haircuts, all that really means you have to dedicate a significant amount of time, some meaningful amount of time on Shabbos, on Erev Shabbos, to prepare for Shabbos. You're not just running in a few minutes before a bench, like taking a shower, plopping on your suit and going to shul. We should do more. And this becomes a very challenging thing, especially for people who work on Fridays, and especially in the short Fridays, to have enough time to come home to prepare for Shabbos. And there are circumstances that, look, Baruch Hashem, they're able to take off on Friday, on Shabbos, they're able to take off to come home in time for Shabbos. But really the best thing would be for a person to organize his schedule. If his boss, sometimes you're your own boss, but if you're able to really have time off on a Friday afternoon to prepare for Shabbos. I remember many times, you see it, it's rough. You see people, I remember many times I was going to shul, and some of my neighbors were first coming home from work. I'm going to shul, and they're on the way to work. They're first coming home from work. It's chaval. I used to think it would be the greatest chesed. I remember sometimes, I was going to yeshiva, driving to yeshiva before Shabbos, and you see tons of people, getting off the subway and running home. I was thinking to myself, it's such an awesome chesed. Or someone, had like a valet that picked up all the from men, from the subway stations in New York, and quickly dropped them off by their homes, to give them a few extra minutes to be home before Shabbos. But look, these are all things, also it creates a different mood. If you're rushing and rushing and rushing, by the time you catch your breath, you sometimes look around Friday night, they could be singing the most geschmack niggin by Lechadodi, but you always find these people just slumped out. Now, it goes both ways. Sometimes they're slumped out because they work so hard preparing for Shabbos on Friday afternoon, okay? But a lot of times, it's just a crazy mad rush on a Friday. And really, the greatest bracha would be if a person did have a little more extra time on Friday afternoon. They can prepare for Shabbos like a bench, come into Shabbos. It'll just make Shabbos feel so much more geschmack. Okay. Once we're on the topic of geschmack, there's a very important important's a funny word, but there is a very newly popular idea called Ta'omeha. Now, Ta'omeha is not a new idea. I'll show you in a minute. Beferish in the Mishnah Berurah talks about it, but it's become very, very popular. What is Ta'omeha? So Mishnah Berurah brings it down in Sif Katon Beis. I did not put this on the sheets. The Mishnah Berurah writes, Mitzvah lito mikol tavshol be'erev Shabbos. There's a mitzvah, we'll be medayik the lashon in a minute, to taste from all cooked foods in Erev Shabbos. Kedei l'saknan yelfen, or they should be made well. Kahogin, and they bring. The Chavetz Chaim even brings from the Sefer Shulchan Shlomo that Bivadai this is a mitzvah, and there's a remez to this. The remez is there, Ta'ameha Chayim Zachul. Someone who tastes Shabbos, Ta'ameha Chayim Zachul. Someone who tastes things before Shabbos is Zocha to extra life. Ta'ameha Chayim Zachul. Now, what does this evolve to be? This is evolved to be now. You'll see if they have a hotel program. Go away for Shabbos in the hotel. They'll list, 3 gourmet Shabbos Sudas, Torah Meha Friday afternoon. Torah Meha becomes like a guy's party, right? Oh, we want to taste a little bit of Friday afternoon. Shabbos food, the old time would just be a guy going into the kitchen and seeing what he could skim, before Shabbos. But now it's become like an all-out Suda, Friday afternoon, Torah Meha. I think it's a shtickle of the Hasidic influence across the world. So, Lamaisa, this idea of Torah Meha, it's interesting. The lashon of the Chavetz Chaim is mashma that you're supposed to taste from all cooked foods, not just one. Everything that's cooking, you should taste it. Geschmack. Taste all the cook's foods. So that itself, very geschmack. L'maisa, I found others say that really it's not necessarily a practical thing, especially once your wife knows, that tastes good. If the point is just to be a taste tester, so then, okay, that one could work out quite easily. But really the concept is that Torah Meha is a form of Kavod Shabbos. And therefore, since it's a form of Kavod Shabbos, is Torah Meha, so really just one food would be good enough. You don't have to taste absolutely everything. It's okay.
The taste, not a meal.
Now, here, I'm going to get to that in a second. Sometimes people could make Torah Meha into its own meals. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I came across one very interesting halacha. What happens, though, this Friday afternoon? Now, this Friday afternoon is a fast day. Now, firstly, you have to remember that this Friday afternoon is a fast day. If you don't remember this Friday afternoon is a fast day, you'll eat. But what about the concept of Torah Meha? I'm cooking for Shabbos. I want to know, does the soup need more salt? What should I do? Have my cleaning lady taste it. As if she's the world's expert on chicken soup. Okay, maybe. Could be sometimes our cleaning ladies, despite the fact they might have grown up in a different country or jungle or who knows where, right? That was a censor bell. But yeah, 1 second. So there are, you might have people, able to taste it. Okay, let's say you don't. I'm a simple person. I'll have my maid, my butler, in the kitchen with me.
There's only times up when you could be Torah Meha.
Okay, but I want to know if the food tastes good or not. So Rabbosai, fasting halacha I came across. There's a Pri Megadim. The Pri Megadim writes, even if Erev Shabbos is a fast day, this week, what it would be allowed, listen to the halacha, one would be allowed to taste the food and then spit it out
That's gross.
to see if it tastes good for Shabbos.
That's gross.
Right? Now, okay? Now all of a sudden, I think you lost your appetite, right? Okay? But if needed to taste the food, one would be allowed to taste it just to see if it's good, just have a little taste, see if it's good, because this concept now is a legitimate concept of preparing for Shabbos. At the same time, as was brought up before, and this is also not so well known, the Shulchan Aruch in Reish Mem Tes, going back a siman, talks about what about in general eating on Friday afternoon. The Mechaber writes, firstly, Asr Kavor B'Erev Shabbos Sudo Mishteh Shinin Ragel B'Mei Achol. You're really not supposed to have big fancy sudas on a Friday afternoon. But to eat without Kfiyah Suda, really Kol Yom is mutter lahatzchel min adin, avol mitzvah limnoa mikvos suda shenagva b'chol mitesh shos and l'mayla. Really, you shouldn't have a meal Friday afternoon from 9.5 hours, 9 hours into the day. One shouldn't have a meal, which happens. It's a yeshiva bacher thing. Not just yeshiva bacher. Teenagers have appetites all the time. Right? Friday afternoon, you play a good basketball game. Your mom is exhausted. You go canoeing. You come 2 o'clock. I'm starving. Oh, quick! Is Jerusalem still open? Of course not. Right? Could I go? Could I grab? You find something, okay, I'll pound something over here. Not so pashut. To have a Suda before Shabbos, not saying it's usher. The real Lashon Mechaber is the other way. It's a mitzvah limnoah. It's really a mitzvah to hold back from having a Suda before Shabbos, because the idea is you should be not hungry, but you should be come into Shabbos where you're ready to have a Suda. If you have a big meal right before Shabbos, that's going to take away, obviously, from your appetite for Shabbos. Are you allowed to eat? For sure you're allowed to eat. We're talking about washing, having a whole Suda. So there, the closer it gets to Shabbos, and Mishabura writes over there in Reish Mem Tes, that the 9 hours, the Mechaber is writing for an average, regular, Friday afternoon. But on a short Friday, like we're in now, it's really before that. So a person should try to be careful not to have a real meal. Your lunch Friday should be an earlier lunch Friday, not a later lunch on Friday. This way that, when I was in Eretz Yisrael, my yeshiva didn't even serve lunch on Friday. Friday morning we got lots of rakalach. So that was our lunch. But, okay. I used to go to Rebbetzin, Nosson Tzvifikos Rebbetzin, Zilbazin, used to give me potato kugel sometimes on a Friday afternoon. That was maybe Ta'ameha. But, okay. But a person shouldn't have an all-out meal on Friday afternoon. Now, the last 2 things on my checklist. That I would like to cover is definitely not so well known. Especially, it's Mishabura. Mishabura writes, Kasva Svarim Yahar B'tshuva V'yifashlish B'maisa B'chol Shabbos. A person should be mahar b'tshuva, should have thoughts of doing tshuva, be yifashrish for myself, and should look into his actions, b'chol erev Shabbos, on every erev Shabbos. Ki Shabbos mikri kala malchusa, because Shabbos is called the kala, the kilu makabel pnei hamelach yisbarach. Ve'ina l'kablo kishu lavish bli sichvos shel chos avonos. A person who's covered in sin, it's not the proper way to come to your Shabbos bride. And therefore, the proper thing is for a person to do tshuva, for a person to have a cheshbon hanefesh, to analyze his life, and that's something that should take place on a Friday. This is obviously not a well-known halacha. It's also the type of halacha you don't know who does it, who doesn't do it, because obviously this is a personal, this is between adam la'atzmo, it's between a person and themselves, and it wouldn't be proper for a person to broadcast, yes, I do tshuva every Friday afternoon. The people that do it won't tell. But there's really a concept that a person should do tshuva on Friday afternoon. And this is definitely something we talked about before. If a person doesn't have time, if Friday is a frenzy, Friday is a frantic day, it's just an overwhelming day, you're not going to have the peace of mind just to sit back and think, okay, how can I become better? Think about how to do tshuva, to learn Musar. But really, that's a halacha. Friday afternoon, the person should have a Musar Seder. And if that's true on every Friday, kal v'chomer this Friday. Because since this Friday is a tainus, and this Friday, every fast day, the ikar of the fast day is not the fact you're not eating food. The ikar of the fast day is it's a day to do tshuva. So the two come together. It's a Friday fast day. The essence of the day is to do tshuva, doubly. And thus, whenever a person could give themselves some time, some space to learn Musar, to think about where they're holding in life, that's a very important thing for Fridays in general, but certainly this Friday. And I think connected to that, I'll put the seventh thing on the list. And this, the last thing on my checklist, is probably the toughest thing to do on Fridays. And schati and imasker ayom, I think almost all mankind needs to get this area better. But it's a beferish halacha. The Shulchan Aruch and Reis Samach Sif Beis there on the sheets writes, when it's close to getting dark, close to Shabbos, a person should ask the people in his home b'lashon raka in a soft voice, aka not to scream. Yisartem, did you take off meiser? Yiravtem, did you set up an erev? Hafrishim chala, did you take off chala? V'yomer lahem and legal as a ner. You should also tell them, make sure to light Shabbos candles. Fine. But this halacha is really more than just reminding people of what to do in our Shabbos. We do this Mishnah, or it's part of a man Madlikin, in the Nusach Ashkenaz. But really the concept, it's brought down, the Chidah brings it, I saw the Aruch HaShulchan brings it, that really on Erev Shabbos, the concept is that it's the most perhaps dangerous time of the week for there potentially to be fights between husband and wife, parents and children, siblings, who's ever around the house, Friday could be a time of stress and fights. And the halacha really is that a person should try to go out of his way to talk softly and to be careful not to get into a fight. And this by far is the hardest halacha for an Erev Shabbos. Hands down. Hardest halacha for an Erev Shabbos is for a person to be careful not to get into fights. And the idea really is, the calmer a person's Erev Shabbos is, the more, again, at peace. When Shabbos will come, you'll set the Shabbos table. If people are strangling each other, mamash are, neck and neck, it's hard then to just switch gears and relax into a Shabbos. So really, the time when a person has to be on their best behavior really is Friday afternoon. And it's probably the hardest time of the week to do that. So one guy says, okay, that's why I show up late Friday afternoon. Sometimes you're causing all the stress by doing that. Now, there's a beautiful story of David Leibowitz, founder of the Chavetz Chaim Yeshiva, that it's about Friday afternoon, but it's really about Friday night. Husband comes home, it was a hectic Friday afternoon, getting everything ready for Shabbos. Comes home, the table is set, everything looks perfect. All of a sudden the husband says, "Where is the challah cover? Where is the challah cover?" The challah is sitting there, but the cover is not there. And he starts screaming and screaming, "Where's the challah cover? How can the challah cover not be here?" Okay, they missed one thing. But it's even worse than that. Worse than that, the reaction of screaming and attacking is, what's the reason why we cover the challah? The reason why we cover the challah is so the challah should not be embarrassed of the wine. That we're passing over the challah to first make kiddush on the wine. Usually hamotzi takes precedence, but for kiddush comes first. And we shouldn't hurt the challah's feelings. That's why we cover it. So Dr. David Leibowitz, you're screaming at the kala that she didn't cover the challah. That's pretty bad. The whole purpose of this minhag, Inyan and halacha, is to save the challah from embarrassment. Kol shekain, that's something we should do to save our wives, our family from embarrassment. A beautiful idea and an important idea. I remember, I'll tell you another story. I myself, as a Rebbe, you get shalos from Talmidim in so many different areas of what's called Arba Chelkei Shulchan Aruch. But unfortunately, probably the area which you don't get as much, probably needs to be more, is an area of Shalom Bayis. Sometimes people get into issues, two wonderful people, two smart people, husband and wife, could get into fights. It's not a pagam that two people might see the world in a different way. But it's figuring out how to deal with it and how to move forward. I remember one Friday afternoon I got a call from a Talmud. It was a young married guy. And he called me because he just got into a fight with his wife on Friday afternoon. He wanted to know what to do. Of course, he was arguing his side. I don't even remember what it was about. I definitely remember trying to put the guy in his place. And the guy wanted to explain himself to his wife, where he was coming from, and this, and that. I told him, I thought it was a pretty good piece of advice. I said, now is not the time to rehash chazaras argument, going over what happened, I said, let's put it aside. Let's go into Shabbos. Now is not the time, apologize. Please get past it. And, you have to be smart with these things. People can sometimes get into fights, at the worst possible time. Friday afternoon, a woman is so busy preparing for Shabbos. A man is so frantic getting ready for Shabbos. We're not at our strongest point. We might be at our weakest point. So a time like that, it's definitely not a time to fight. It definitely could bring about fights. But a person should be extra careful. And perhaps my sixth area in the checklist goes very well with the seventh. If a person's not sure what to do tshuva from, number 7 is probably the best area to start. So those are 7 things that a person could do on every week before Shabbos: shopping for Shabbos, preparing the food for Shabbos, cleaning and fixing one's home, washing up, shaving, haircuts, ta'ameha, tasting the Shabbos food, the important halakhas of tshuva, and finally to talk softly and be on one's best behavior on the Friday. Now, getting back to some of the questions we started off with, that's all for Friday afternoon. What happens this week when it's a fast on the Asar B'Teves? Would one be allowed to makabel Shabbos early? So that's also, Shulchan Aruch talks about that in Reish Mem Tas. And it's a Gemara in Eruvin and Mem Aleph, where the Gemara even debates this concept: should we ever really be fasting on Friday? Friday's not the best day. Come into Shabbos like ice mensch from a fast. But halacha l'maisa, we paskin that we do fast on Erev Shabbos, and pashas we fast a full fast until the normal time that you would end the fast. That's when we do it. We might start mincha earlier just because we have to lane on Friday afternoon. There is no Avinu Malkeinu, but there is laning. So we do start mincha earlier this week, but we don't make an early Shabbos. There is some room, there is a tzad in halacha. Let's say you have a person who's sick and really can't wait till later. Perhaps there might be some room for that individual to make an early Shabbos, but in general, we definitely have to check the Ashkenazic poskim, the Sephardic poskim. For a week like this, one would not make an early Shabbos. You just have to grin and bear it. In terms of the Suda, so the halacha is, we have it on the sheets, Shabbos is all about basa v'yayin, ideally to have meat, maybe chicken, wine. But let's say you have a person, sometimes, it could be wine, if the person doesn't eat, it's very hard, it gives them headaches, right? It's okay, maybe this Friday night, you don't have to be machmer to have, to have to pick wine, maybe you should make it on grape juice, might be easier on you. There are some people that after a fast, they find it hard to eat meat. Hard to eat something heavy. Okay, maybe then just have chicken. Maybe that's too hard too. What about milchiks? In general, the pashtus is to have Shabbos Sudas of fleishiks, not to have milchiks, but it could be, discuss with their local Rav, if they do find it tough after a fast, could one have milchiks first, or milchik dikasuda? I remember once by people, they would make Shabbos morning, first have a milchik meal after an early Shabbos Hashkama minyan, and then have a fleshik meal. But come out that their second meal of the day was milchiks, their shalosh shudas was fleshiks with cholet. Yeah, not so simple, but there perhaps is room over there if a person does find it hard to have basar v'yayin, to make it a little easier for them this week to have a different menu. But either way, a Friday fast is something different. It's out of the blue. something that we'll remember. It's not that often that we have it. And Be'ezus Hashem, we should be able to observe the fast day this week of Asar B'Teves and come into Shabbos and gain as much as we can from Asar B'Teves and Be'ezus Hashem from the Shabbos following that. Have a wonderful week. Kol Tov.